All right, welcome back to another episode of Door to Door Success Stories. Here today with Cody Olive. Me and Cody just met right now, but been Instagram friends for a while.
Yep.
Anyway, welcome, Cody.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, dude. Well, before we get into serious business, I wanted to start by talking about energy drinks. So I'd actually heard through the grapevine before today that you are a fellow aficionado. So you've got to explain the extent of this. Is this like a drink or two a day, or
we've reeled it back since, like, in 2019 and 2020. It was pre-workout, and that's like when rain was really popular.
Yeah.
And so some days, like especially big competition days, like you're having double rains. But 2021 dialed it down because that's when I got married, so my wife was getting after me. But 2022 was big C4. But then now we're rocking the big old Ghost for 2023 and beyond.
Ghost, okay. So to quantify this in like milligrams per day, is 2 rains your high water mark?
I've like in 2019, 2020, some days it was like 700-800, but now I've tapered off. It's like the highest I'll go is 400 in a day.
Okay, I respect that. I respect that. I spent about a year and a half having around a gram.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, the reason I won't do rains or what's the other? Bang.
Yeah.
Although I think Bang is like dead now or something. Anyway, the reason I won't do those is because I want to have 3 to 5 drinks.
Yes.
If you're having 300 milligrams per drink, then you're about to,
You're gonna have a heart attack.
Have a heart attack. Yeah. So anyway, high water mark for me was around 5 C4s. I've now fixed like a upper mark of 3. Won't let myself have more than 3.
Oh my gosh.
Let's just kind of get into your story. Start at the beginning.
Cool.
Maybe not like birth, but
Yeah.
you as a kid, where you grew up, getting into college, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So grew up in Yorba Linda, California, down there in North Orange County. Went to BYU in Provo, Utah. Always had a dream of going to law school. So when I was at BYU, I did internship, everything under the sun. Like worked for a judge, was a TA, was a research assistant. Even worked in Thailand one summer for a judge. That judge actually just became a Thai Supreme Court justice. So pretty cool.
That is cool.
I got done in fall of 2014. And I wanted to go to law school, but had a lot of family trials. Like in a matter of 6 months, like my grandma died, my little brother passed away, my grandpa died. I had a relationship end, so like when it rained, it poured. So I didn't want to go into more school, and so I took a job at Goldman Sachs up in Salt Lake. And so I did investment banking for about 2 years. Was in Salt Lake in New Jersey. And then I got more active in the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. So I served my 2-year mission in Singapore and Malaysia. So ni hao, Mr. Levi.
Ni hao.
And then I got back in 2019, and I still wanted to go to law school, but my parents were kind of like...
Pause.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a ton. We have to pause along the way there. Okay, so you made it sound like, just off the cuff, like, oh, shoot, let's get this job at Goldman Sachs. But presumably, I guess you're murdering school at this point.
I actually do like school.
Yeah. So doing great at school, super invested in this pre-law path. Yep. What was your job at Goldman?
So I was in the compliance division. So I was in the control room. So that's literally like the public and private barrier and all investment banks. So like most people have seen the movie Wolf of Wall Street. So like when they take Steve Madden public, I'm the legal right in the middle between the bankers and then the traders.
Lots of red tape.
Exactly.
Or, dealing with the red tape so that the bankers can bank, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
Understood. Oh, okay. So, I mean, still pretty legal focused, I guess. Okay. That makes sense. I thought that it was just like randomly dipping into finance or something.
There was a good finance aspect. Like I had to learn a ton on the go because everything was political science. It was writing. It was a little data analytics. It was a lot of regressions, but it was like a whole new ball game. So, but it was diving both feet in, but yeah, more legal focused.
So while you're doing all of this super structured, super, I don't know what to say, like white collar path type stuff, you're at BYU. I assume you got recruited for sales a bajillion times, or people tried to at least.
Yep.
What was your mindset as you didn't do it, as you turned them down?
I like crazy enough, like even when, so like my best buddy, the one I actually just worked out with, he did alarms and then he did pest control for 4 summers. And I'm just like, that's a lot of money and potential in it, but there wasn't much structure or organization, where it just seemed like total chaos. So it was truly just kind of like a flip of the coin if you were going to be great at it, or it was just you're going to be another summer sales statistic. So I was so laser focused on law school, where it's just like neither of my parents went to college. And so the idea of applying to law school is so foreign to them. So I was just trying to pick everyone's brains. Like while I was at BYU, I was in the Kennedy Center. So like that's like all of your internship abroads. I went over to the law school a lot and would meet with a few of the professors like that were in charge of admissions. So that way I could literally craft this best resume to, hopefully get into a top tier law school.
Yeah. A lot of like first year college graduate, or first in your family college graduate, like I got to figure all this out myself type energy.
1000%.
Okay. And sounds like you weren't necessarily like, I ask because I too was a pre-law, went to law school for a year, and there was always this I respect that the kids knocking doors make a ton of money, but internally maybe a little bit of snobbiness.
Yeah.
Or at least with me. Did you have any of that?
A little bit, because there's that TV show Suits. Like I wanted to be just like Harvey Specter. I wanted to wear a nice suit every day. I wanted to go to a big corporate high rise, live back in Orange County. And so it's just like, I was so corporate America to the moon. So it's just like the thought of knocking doors was just not that it was beneath me, but I was just like, I would never do that in a million years.
Yeah. Right. And you mentioned there's not a ton of structure or whatever. I don't want to jump too far ahead in the story, but presumably at some moment you realized that it was more of a career path than you had previously understood.
100%.
Because here's the thing, right? Like if it's just, you can make a bunch of money for 3 summers and then you're going to go become a lawyer anyway, then, well, I guess that's cool, but I could also leave it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that. I think it was kind of similar for me too. So we were talking before we started shooting. I went out one summer a long time ago. And I was fine at it. Like I was starting relatively hot for a first year, compared to other dudes around. But I just didn't really put a ton of importance on it.
Right.
I was already accepted. I was going to grad school that fall, so it was like, well, if I make a ton of money, great. If I make a medium amount of money, that's probably all right too.
Right.
I'm definitely not coming back here, so there's not like a huge investment in becoming good just in like a honing your craft kind of a way.
Right.
It's short-term cash in. Anyway.
Make some money for law school.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then part of the problem is I was too high-strung about debt. It was like, okay, I need to like pay cash for law school, which is like a stupid mark to set for yourself. So you get all wound up about the debt and the length of the path and whatever. Sales was a better fit for me. But okay, so you said got more active in the church and went on a mission?
Yep.
Yeah.
So 2017 to 2019 went on my mission. That's in the MTC is where I met your guy, Jake Richards.
Yeah. And
then I got back 2019 and then looked around. Like solar was really hot. But in my opinion, I didn't like all the barriers of entry to sell. One of my friends, Elliot Knox, married Todd Peterson's daughter, Sydney Peterson. So
I played football with him, by the way.
So potentially looked at alarms for a tiny bit, but my humble opinion, I think they're going to be replaced by Amazon Ring Doorbell, Google Nest. So then I looked at pest control, and my buddy Josh, his dad, they owned a venture arm called Nielsen Ventures. Mm-hmm. And so that's when they were doing different investments. So I really like the thought of that, because then it's like, well, I can sell for a year, make my money for law school, and then that's also a good internship to put on my resume before I go to law school, or maybe after that first year of law school. Okay,
so you get back. Sounds like you got back pretty decided that you were going to go sell.
Yeah.
But this is all still on your path towards something else eventually.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool.
So I got back February of 2019. And then kind of was in California for a couple weeks, and then moved up with my buddy Alex in Highland. And he's from California, but his parents own a home in Highland. So we stayed there while he was getting ready to go to law school as well. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to go sell with Josh Nielsen and Green X. And keep in mind, Josh did all of my recruiting, like I only met, whereas most people with the grit think, like Ben Egan or John Taylor are kind of the face, where it's like, I'd only met Ben once because Ben went out early that summer to Philly because that's when we were going to first start doing like the higher contracts in pest control. Because more often than not, it's, $400 contract.
Yeah.
That's when we started doing like $580, $600, $700 contracts, which was insane in 2019. And so 2019, I go out and sell. I was set on 850 accounts because that was enough to pay for law school in cash. But like April, like I had a hot start. May was okay. And then in June, there was 1 week where I sold like 7 accounts in a whole week.
Oof.
And so like I just got rocked. And like I just remember I had 3 posters like taped up on my wall with like the 850 at the end. And I'm just like, well, if I'm out here till Thanksgiving, I'm out here till Thanksgiving. And so like got better. Like Calvin Escobedo, I trained with him a ton, trained with Ben Egan a ton. And so that summer I ended up selling 1,004 accounts.
Okay, pause. You're skipping past like 7 good things at once. All right. So now correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not super tied into the pest control culture, but
Yeah.
Green Ix at the time, and that's a lot of the same guys who became the Grit, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and this is the badass pest control outfit.
Yeah.
You chose them because it was going to be able to be construed as an internship at a later moment.
Yep.
Love that.
Yep.
All right. And you go out with 850 as the goal because by your calculations, 850 contract values, whatever, commission percentages, you're going to be able to pay for law school in cash.
Right.
All right. Okay. Now, I really love what you were saying about, if I'm out here till Thanksgiving, whatever, because the goal was not something you could compromise on. At that point in time, a person can either say, I'm going to change the goal or I'm going to change what I'm doing in some kind of, whether it's sell better or stay longer, one or the other.
Right.
But, okay, love that. You think that was like a big moment for you, or were you already kind of like built that way? Was there some kind of special decision you had to make, or?
I've always been that way. And like when I left, like my parents, they were super suspicious. Like, you're 1099, this is door to door. Is this kind of like you're selling lotions like doTERRA? Like, is this kind of like some kind of scam or whatever? And so they were super suspicious. And I'm like, Mom, like, it's fine. I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to prove you guys wrong. Like, I'm going to get to law school one way or another. And I'm going to use this vehicle so that way I don't have to take out these absorbent, school loans.
Okay. And, while we're talking about you getting recruited and all that type of stuff, I always like to ask people, if somebody out there wants to recruit somebody like yourself, what are the signs like?
Yeah, I would honestly say just like the feeling of the sense of security, because I'm someone that values my time very valuably, probably higher than I should. But like I value my time super, super high. And so it's just like, are you going to be structured out there? And I thought in my mind, like, especially like I got to meet Bob a ton of times where I'm like, well, if this guy can scale Cafe Rio from 3 to 130 restaurants, like how hard is it to run a pest control company? Mm-hmm. And so I felt that sense of security. I'd known Josh since 2016, and he's, Josh is one of the best human beings I've ever met in my life. And so like I felt secure with him. So like I felt like I could trust my leader. So security, trust. And then John Taylor had just sold 1,000 accounts, and then Landon Hart had done like 800. So it's just like, okay, so if I want to sell 850, it's already been done before, which I'm a huge believer in, and you can't teach someone how to do something unless you've done it yourself. And so it's just like, I had the sense of security for the structure, I had the trust, and then I had the competition. So then it's like, okay, now it's on me just to learn and go.
Yeah, love that. And as the recruiter, what are like maybe some traits a person should be looking for in recruits? Like how do they find the next Cody Olive?
Yeah.
Look back at you as a guy who hasn't even sold yet. Was there like some different mental makeup there that maybe you can distill down into a couple things, or is it just luck of the draw, or what do you think?
I think why Josh Nielsen was such a great recruiter, because like Josh Nielsen recruited a lot of us. Like he recruited me, like back in the day. He recruited the Biermans. He helped recruit Jordan Meacham. He was huge in helping Jackson Jr. recruit Drew Hansen. Like Josh, I think, because a lot of the times you want to think like law of attraction, where it's like, oh, you need someone like Cody to recruit a Cody. It's just like, I think if you're just honestly someone that can relate to someone, whereas because of Josh's family background, like they lived in New Zealand, they lived in Singapore, they lived in Utah, they lived in California, where Josh has this unreal skill to like relate with someone and you just feel comfortable with Josh. And so it's just like, however you can make someone feel comfortable in that seat, whether it's, you know, a kid that's fresh off his LDS mission, a big internship kid, you know, some Provo all-star that's shopping around with a ton of different companies, like whatever can just make them feel comfortable, and then that sense of security.
Okay, love that. I'm learning stuff here too because I absolutely teach. It takes A players to attract A players. Blah blah. Whatever you just said is not that. So
I think it's a mix. I mean, obviously, then like I mean, I feel like you and I are pretty similar where we're hard charging, where it's like to close the deal, then like you'll probably bring in like a you or a Ben Egan. But I think that initial meeting, if you just have like a good sense of comfortability and you can make them feel comfortable, not so like in their face, then I think it'll
and trust.
It'll bring down their walls.
Yes. Okay. Love that.
Yeah.
Cool. So you start selling, you're midsummer, kind of having a gut check moment.
Yeah.
And you said you went out and started selling with some dude and he taught you the ropes.
So Calvin Escobedo, like bless him and his wife, Kenzie, like every Tuesday and Thursday, like she would make dinner and then like he would teach me how to sell. And like at that point in time, like I had a really hard time with Terminix switchovers and then the spouse objection because in my family, my mom's the breadwinner. So I'm just like, you know, more often than not, like not putting people in a box, but more often than not, like the wife's home, you know, and the husband's at work, especially out on the East Coast. And like, I just had the hardest time with that because I'm just like, why can't you make the decision? Because my whole life, my mom made all the decisions. Yeah. And so at that point in time, it was just like, okay, here are my improvements. Let's turn these into strengths. And then that's how I was able to finish that summer on a strong note.
You know, man, I, like we were talking about earlier, I did this summer of pests and then I had a big gap and then started selling windows. And I was like, you know, not great at pest. And I was, you know, one of the industry goats in windows. And it's funny because at the time I went out and sold pests, I was 24. Yeah. Granted, a lot of 24-year-olds these days are grown. I didn't grow up that fast, I don't think, maturity-wise. And I think one of my problems, dude, is I just had this super scarce mindset about money. Yeah. I felt like I was asking something huge of the customers to sign this, you know, back then, like $400 contract. Yeah. I was giving that stuff away, man. I jumped straight to free initials and like 89 quarterly. I was soft as hell. Yeah. And I felt like I was asking something huge. 3 years later, check back into sales after some growing up. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, man, it's only 15 G's. Like, we'll finance it. It's not a big deal. Yeah. So it's all about how you feel about things. You know, for me, it was money. For you, it's the spouse. And you said Terminix switchovers or something like that. Yeah. Cool, man. Love that. Okay, so you get back on track for the summer. Yep. And finish at your, not just 850, but 1,004. 1,004. Yep. Love that.
Got a golden door. And then Josh and Ben wrangled me in to do it one more year. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to do this one more year and, you know, defer law school one more year.
Just one more, dude. Just one more.
And so, yeah, the classic, one more. Ben knew all along he was going to get me for life. Yeah. But I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be the best ever to do it. And at that time, it was Josh Zuniga. He had done, I think, 850K and done like 1,500 accounts.
Yeah, we're friends of friends. He's like best friends with dudes who used to work with me. So
very cool. Yeah. And so then that summer is the COVID summer. So then we don't get to go out till May 12th. But then like I start that ground or like just hot, like that second week, like I was the first one to ever sell 100 in a week. So I sold 126 in a week.
This is 2020.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I finished that. So I go May 12th to October 12th, and I sold 1,728 accounts, like barely beat Drew because Drew and I were competing all summer. Mm-hmm. And so I do 1,070,000. This was back before like double golden door was a big thing because if I would have just stayed for 30K more, I would have done a double golden door. It drives me nuts to this day. Yeah. So I do 1,728 accounts. We come back. That fall is when we solidify as Grit Marketing. And then 2021, I go out for Spidex in Milwaukee. I get a golden door, but it's a huge down year because I only did 551K, whereas I had just done 1 million. So I got 50% worse. So then 2022.
Pause. All right. So
time out.
Yeah. All right. 2020, you said 1,728. Okay. Now correct me if I'm wrong. Is that still the industry record?
Accounts, yes. Zach Seeger, who works with us, he has the revenue, which is 1.5 million.
And that's brand new, right?
Yeah, he just did it this last summer.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool to have your records beat by your boys, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, It's funny, man. When I was coming up as a salesman back then, and in our numbers, window numbers, a great month was like 250, 300K. Our mutual friend Jake Richards, we were talking about, does like 600 in a month these days. So
that's insane.
Yeah, the industry evolves, right? The industry evolves. There's probably new knowledge and training that you guys are able to pass down now
100%.
that you didn't even have 3 years ago, right?
Yep.
Okay, so talk about that 1700 summer. Like, are you just working like all day, 6 days a week, no breaks?
So that's why I like doing these podcasts. That's honestly a common misconception. Like people like think that Drew, myself, Zach Seeger, or Drew's little brother Corbin, like we just work like 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. It's like we still run our morning meetings. We still do our one-on-ones. We still do our trainings. Like we can't leave our guys high and dry.
Yes.
But yeah, like obviously when I'm having bigger weeks, like where I'm really hot, like I'm going to go work 9 to 9. But more often than not, we're on the doors like 12:30 until 9:30.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at some moments in the summer you may sprint. There's a competition going on.
Exactly.
End of the summer maybe or something like that. But other than that, it's business as usual.
Yep.
Cool. Love that. All right. And what do you think was like the key between your step up from summer 1 to summer 2?
I think it was more just refining the craft, where it was just like, then I was just more obsessed with it, where it's like every 50-50 deal, where it's like you kind of get to that point in the summer where, or like sometimes in selling, where you're just like, I've gotten a couple of deals, like I feel good, or I probably could have pushed a couple more times. I actually got that one, but like I already have 8 or 9, so like I feel good. But it's like that summer, like every door counted, and like every door was like 100%, and then every door was pushing it until like they shut the door in my face.
Yeah, well, success that exists on the margins, right? Something I'm always telling my guys, because sometimes you have these guys who will show up to work, and if you don't quite know what you're looking at and you're not being super analytical with it, you might think that they're in the same mindset as their good days because it looks 95% the same.
Right.
But at some level they're phoning it in mentally, and it's like, okay, 99% of that interaction went the same as one where you would sell it, but there was this one moment where you needed to have the mental arousal to rebuttal that objection, and you just didn't.
Right.
So it's like you may think one of the most toxic beliefs a salesman can have is, I'm so good at this that I can do it on autopilot.
Right.
As soon as you do that, you're letting a few deals go.
100%.
Yeah, man. Okay. So, let's talk about like just mindset. How do you stay fully mentally dialed in for however many selling days of the summer to put up big numbers like that?
Yeah, that's honestly good. Whereas like 2020 was just so much where it was new and it was fun and it was a game. So like that energy carried me where it was just like, okay, how high can I push this? Because most people at that time thought it's just like, oh, like 80 in a week was great, where I'm just like, no, like we should do 100. Or it's just like, oh, if I sold 20 in a week, that's legendary. Where it's just like, well, like let's sell 30. And like I sold 32 in a day.
So you're getting the boost of stuff being new,
yeah,
novelty, never been done before. Yeah.
Whereas 2021, which, was still a good year, but like a down year for me, I relied too much on that, but it kind of got, I don't want to say stale, but it was just kind of like, that was my third time. I'm just kind of like, this isn't as exciting. And so when I went into 2022, where I sold $1 million again, I did 1,000 accounts again, then it was more like, okay, like I'm going to do my affirmations every morning. In the middle of the day, like I'm going to make sure I stay engaged, where it's just like I don't go on that autopilot, where it's just like, okay. Because then like when you're in your 4th year, like you kind of know when you're like right there at that 50-50. And so it's like, okay, this is a 50-50. Like I'm going to make sure to get all these 50-50 deals. And then some people have varying beliefs, but like for me, like I have to work out every morning. So like in 2022, like I hired a trainer. And so like I was in like good shape and I was reading at night, because in 2021, that was my first time like fully running an office. And it's like, I was busy, so I wasn't prioritizing my health. Each morning I'd wake up and it was, it was a brand new office. So there were a ton of growing pains. So then like I'm immediately checking my phone and like I wake up with bad energy. And so I think in 2022, it was so much of just like mental, physical, and then just like having those affirmations to be engaged all day.
Got it. Let's talk about that, by the way. So 2021, first time running a full office. What do you do now? You have a few offices, or you like the one office left?
So this summer we'll probably have 3 or 4.
Okay, sweet. How many reps is that?
It'll shake out where it's like we probably have over 200 guys signed right now, but you know how it goes.
Yes.
You probably get like 120 to come out and then probably finish with 70. So the goal revenue-wise is to do 34 million this year.
Love it. And that's your organization?
Yeah, that's my region.
Love it. Wonderful. Yep. Okay. How many regions are there at the Grit?
So there's 2 organizations. So it's Parker and Schuyler, Griffin, and then it's Drew Hansen and Easton Bunker. And then each organization has 3 regionals. So like I'm under Drew and Easton. So it's me, Zach Seeger and Michael Green, and then Dylan Hafen and McKay Roberts.
So there's 6 of your position.
Exactly.
Understood. Love that. Cool, man. So let's talk about that a little bit. How do you stay dialed as an individual rep while also giving the most to your guys?
I think it's honestly having good structure and good plans, because then like my whole mindset is like, okay, I need to replicate myself, otherwise this will eventually die out. And so it's just kind of like you focus on the top 10%, but then it's also like I'm not big enough yet where it's just like there's no reason I shouldn't know everyone's name and story. And so like I'm a big like iPhone reminder and Google Keep Notes. So it's just like, okay, make sure to text him for his birthday, or, oh, Shub's at Kennesaw State, or, oh, Kevin and Mikal just had a baby. And so then that way, like you can remember all those details. Cause again, kind of like with Josh, like you want to feel like important and you want to feel comfortable. And so I feel like just making a good effort for that. And then especially just having a good program that people can plug into. Because I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of married reps and people with kids, and it's just like, you know, one of my married reps, Bo King, it's like he has a brand new baby, so it's just like, okay, like if he's gonna go plug in a summer, like this has to be dialed for him and his family.
You know, that personal touch is so important, man. It's a tough one for me. I'm a little bit of a caveman sometimes. I'm you know, I must have Asperger's or something, dude, because I'm just kind of like, hey, I'm helping you be the best salesman you can be. Like, can we dispense with all the emotions?
Yeah.
You know, like I'm whatever. But like my partner Kyle, he's great at it. He's always like, yeah, we got to call that guy. Wish him happy birthday. Hey, it's his anniversary.
Yep.
Let's just call that dude and tell him we love him. And I'm like, I squirm a little bit. I'm like, ooh, so many emotions, Kyle. Why? But whatever. You know, I have seen the folly in the way I approach it. I'm learning.
Yeah.
You know, does that like come naturally to you? Are you a nurturing personality or?
No, because like my whole life, like, I mean, I have older parents. Like my dad had me when he was 40 and my mom was 33. So like my whole life I just got, have some water, you're fine. You know what I mean? And so like, especially in 2019 and 2020, like that came off in like 2021, but it's just like, especially this new generation, like millennials and especially Gen Z, like you have to, otherwise people are going to go away, which it stinks because I'm with you where it's just like, well, I'm providing this life-changing opportunity for you. Like no one runs a better pest control office than me. Like you're going to go out and make 6 figures and like now you can go put a down payment at home and it's just like you're set up, but it's just like if you don't have that like connection, then it's just like you're another boss.
You ever watch that show Mad Men?
Yep, 100%.
You know when Peggy's like, you never say thank you, and he says that's what the money's for.
Yep,
that's me. I'm like, I pay you. I pay you. Is that sufficient? But no, man, I'm learning. Yep. How old are you?
I'm 30.
30. Okay, yeah, you're my age. I'm 31.
Yep.
Yeah, man, it is different. It is different, right? You know, the like you said, the millennials, I guess we're millennials, but the younger millennials, the Gen Z, they want recognition. They want to know that you care.
Yeah.
You know, just personal connections, emotional connections.
100%.
So how many Golden Doors have you won now?
So 5. So I've done 5 full summers. I've gotten 5 Golden Doors. So then 2022, I did 1,000,000 accounts, Golden Door. That's when we started marketing for Active. And then 2023, so this last summer we were in New Jersey, same thing, did 1 million Golden Door, 1,000 accounts.
Okay, so suffice it to say you dropped the law school thing somewhere along the way.
Yep. After 2021, when we made great money again, and then it's like, okay, October 2020 I got married, May of 2022 we closed on our house, and it's just like, you know, I have 10 best buddies that all went the corporate route, whether it's, you know, dental school, law school, MBA, Deloitte, KPMG, you name it. And it's just like a lot of them now have just been able to, you know, finally get over their school loans and then start to look at having a home where it's just like my wife and I, we're debt free. We've been able to invest, you know, a lot of money. We've been able to build a great home. We travel 3-4 times a year.
At a much younger age, right?
Exactly.
You know, if you understand numbers, there's that whole time value of money thing.
Yep.
Okay, you know, we don't have to say numbers, but even that first summer, you made something in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And you were still, maybe I'm going to go to grad school.
That first summer I made, and again, like hopefully it doesn't come off that way, but like, again, I hope people that are the law route where it's like even, or the school route or the internship route where it's just like, especially if you're from Utah, like just get over the stigma, because it's not the obsession of money, it's the obsession of freedom, where it's like that first summer I made 290, and then that second summer I made over 600 grand. And I'm just like, okay, I wouldn't make this until 10 years after law school. And that puts me 13 years and I'd be 39. And it's just like, I love my parents, but like, you know, my mom's 63 and she's still working. So that way they have good benefits for their health insurance. And it's just like, again, they provide me a fantastic life, but it's just like, I want to be retired by the time I'm 35. And it's just like, I'll always work because I love work and I love the hustle and I love the addiction of that and growing and stuff. But like, I want to be financially set by the time we're 35.
You do it on your own terms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I talk to people about quote unquote retirement or semi-retirement or whatever all the time. They don't always understand what I'm saying. You know, they're like, so when I had this thing going on my Insta the other day, I did one of those anonymous questions things.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, so when could you comfortably retire? I was like, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
They're like, so you're just working for fun? I was like, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I got the vibe that in the brain of the question asker, whoever it was, that all didn't compute, but
yeah, people,
it's okay.
People think when you retire, then it's like you're done. It's just like, in my mind, retiring is where it's just like, if you were to stop working, like all your financial needs would be fine. Where it's like that classic Warren Buffett quote, it's like you're making money while you're asleep, you know? But it's just like, I'll work for the rest of my life because I like to stay mentally engaged. I like interacting with people. And then especially like gospel according to Cody Olive, but I think husband and wife need to go do their own things for a little bit and then come back together at night.
Yeah. I tell my wife all the time, like, hey, at some level I just got to go. And she was like, well, when do you think you can retire? And we talked about that. I'm like, but you need to understand, like, I don't want you to expect me at the house before, let's say 3 until I'm 70.
Yeah. Yes.
And she's like, oh, okay, I get it now. So where do your next 5, 6, 10 years at the Grit take you?
Yeah, great question. So I'm actually going to move to Atlanta in the fall. And so at the Grit, we started doing year-round blocks.
Yes,
so
I've seen that.
And so we have orientations, which are essentially a 4-day try before you buy for vets. So if they want to come see what we're about, because everyone always thinks our numbers are so inflated, but they've been verified by door-to-door experts. All my stats are verified on Door-to-Door Hall of Fame. And so it's essentially try before you buy. We have blitzes, which are kind of like the Legacy X model, which is 10 days on, 20 days off.
Yep.
And then we have blocks, which is like your traditional sell-in period, which is the summer, which is usually, 12 to 16 weeks. And so we have a 6-week spring block. We have a 16-week summer block, and then we have a 9-week fall block. And so I'm going to go out to Atlanta and run that 6-week spring block. I'll come home for 2 weeks. We'll get our ducks in a row, and then I'll go out for the summer, somewhere Midwest, Northeast, where we always go, get my final golden door, and then in the fall, we'll move to Atlanta. And so then that way, year-round, I'm just running blocks. So that way, as soon as someone recruits someone, it's like, hey, go out to Cody in Atlanta and get your feet wet and actually try this. Because, it's so much of that days to dollars where it's, it's buyer's remorse. Yeah. Whether it's selling something, buying something, recruiting someone, if there's a long wait period before they can, get it, buy it, taste it, actually try it.
Doesn't work.
They talk themselves out of it. And so
I talked myself out of like 4 different door-to-door jobs that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like once upon a time I signed with Vivint.
Yeah.
I did all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so I'm just excited too, because then it's like, out of it's like original 10 to 15 from 2019, like I'm the first one to finally move out of state. So I hope that, inspires more people to go out of state, because you think of, that Vivint guy down in Florida, or you think of like Damon Lilly in North Carolina with Aptiv, and it's just like, we have standardized pay, we have great results, we're partners with the Utah Jazz. And then if I can go into a couple universities and become like a preferred internship, then for my key leaders, there's guaranteed pipeline. So then that way guys can, be funneled to them. So then that way we're just capturing growth year round.
Well, I love the You know, I've wondered about this a little bit recently too. If pest control and maybe alarms, to the extent people still do alarms, might transition to a little more of a year-round vibe, because you know, man, the summer model was originally created so that college kids could do it in the summer from college, right? But you know, granted, this is anecdotes, but I don't know a ton of college-age kids who are even going to college anymore, or if they are, they're doing it online. So it's like, I don't know why these industries that have this legacy of summer model stuff have to stay that way. They could just go year round.
Dude, 1000%. Like, we did a Qualtrics survey at the end of the summer, and it was like something like 55% of our selling class was not going to further education. And so it's just like, you have over 50% of bodies just sitting around year round. It's like, let's go sell, let's go capture revenue, let's go help them make more money. And it's just like, you know, I just had a 21-year-old go do a golden door, made, you know, $350,000 and just closed on a brand new house. And he's just like, okay, sweet. Like, I'm ready for the next block, because then now I want to start investing and stuff like that. So it's just like, that's when it gets really cool. And now, keep in mind, like, if school still is your route, like, I still believe in, you know, getting your education, but it's like, if you're not, then like, you might as well go do this or try this.
Yeah. We're going to do some of the same. We're getting into some blitzes and stuff like that. Let's talk about golden door stuff, by the way. So, you know, obviously you've got a bunch.
Thanks.
How many kids like under you that you've mentored have gotten one now?
So 4 have gotten it. So I had this summer in New Jersey with me. Devin Smith got it. He did $770K. Jaden Smith, his little brother, did $650K. So that was super cool. They're like 2 of my sons. I call them son 1 and son 2.
Yeah.
Kevin Glenn, which was honestly super cool. And this, I mean, if we're talking about success stories, this was his 6th summer, and the best he'd ever done was $350K. And so then he got a golden door this summer, which was super cool.
Big breakthrough.
Love you, Kev. And then Hudson, one of Kevin's guys, he did 8 weeks, did 170 accounts. One of those classic stories, had to call it short because he got married. And then this summer, he went out and did $760K. And then I got put with a guy, Nate Hawley, so not technically mine this last summer, but now like we worked together. He did $1 million. And so
crazy.
4, technically 5, but this summer we want to try and do 13.
Yep. Love that. And we talked about this on Insta the other day. How many golden doors does the Grit have now?
37.
37.
Yep.
Okay. I think that Performance Windows might be second in the industry, but you have tripled us nonetheless. So it's, you know, like we're doing 13.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats, man.
Hopefully next year we beat your region at least.
We'll have to compete.
Cool, man. Well, y'all are killing it. Any kind of last advice, tips you want to give?
Yeah.
About anything, recruiting, coming up, managing?
Yeah. So I did, I've done Sam Tagger's podcast a couple times. I just did Mikey Lucas's podcast. He was a great guy. I've enjoyed this. And like something I always say on these podcasts, or it's just like, don't ever sell yourself short. Like, don't ever box yourself in. It's like, you look at Kevin Glenn, you know, he'd sold for 5 summers. And then it's like, most people are kind of like, I'm a 400K guy. And it's just like, you're not a nothing guy. Like, you set those limits on yourself.
Right.
And so I think don't ever sell yourself short. My brand is always work hard, where it's like, no matter what you're doing, where you're at, or wherever you're at, like, always work hard. And then 3, it's just like, my financial advisor always says this, it's like, be a learn-it-all, not a know-it-all. So it's like, especially when I get 6 golden doors, like, I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan. So like, I wanted to get 6 because he has 6 rings. I'll never be, you know, I'm too cool for school. It's just like, I always want to learn. I always want to get better. Like, I hope to learn from you a lot, Levi. And then I hope to learn from other people in the industry. Because if you come off as like pompous or like that, it just continues to put a bad taste on our industry. So it's just like, always pay it forward and always help. And those are kind of the 3 things that I live by.
Love it. Well, thanks for coming on, man. Where can our listeners find you, you know, on social media or wherever else? So
Instagram, Cody__Olive, and then on LinkedIn, Cody Olive. So those are the 2 platforms I'm the most active on.
Love it. Thanks for coming, man.
Thanks, Levi.